out of the 17 presidential candidates. Let me take that. Addressing this issue during the general election environment. For watch observed the following. Chisakho once more team observers documented a few isolated instances of violence. Interventions in some cases.
Chisakho Watch is a citizen-led, non-partisan election observation coalition formed by the Catholic Commission for Justice and Peace, Public Affairs Committee, Gender Justice Unit, and MHAT, which deployed trained
of the Presidential, Parliamentary, and Local Government Act. In addition to the few cases of electoral violence, our LOTCs documented the closing of political spaces and the establishment of no-go zone areas in some districts such as Luntha, Chisakho, political parties. During the campaign and general elections, presidential debates, began to build a tradition of organizing debates. Opportunity for the candidates to explain to the voters how they will go about achieving them, allowing voters to make prosperity. Of debates conducted by the presidential whatever they find. So poor tenant with 3 of the bad affairs to date, and 2 candidates in the second debate. Critical issues such as the economy, national debt, agriculture,
fair. In football,
Goal! What a goal!
in football, we all love those tense moments when a goal is scored.
Goal! What a goal!
But then the referee stops the game. VAR check. Was it a real goal or offside? In the same way, during the Malawi's 2025 general elections, we have our own VAR. It's called PRVT, Process and Results Verification for Transparency. Just like VAR, the PRVT reviews the election day process. Our observers are deployed across Malawi from Sanje to Chitipa to carefully check how the voting, counting, and the result transmission is done. Because let's be honest, in football we say chigoli ndi chigoli, but in elections, vote ndi vote, and every vote must count. If the PRVT results match MEC's result, Malawians can celebrate confidently. The results are valid. But if there's a problem, we blow the whistle. Just like VAR protects the game, PRVT protects your vote. On 16 September 2025, play your part, go out and vote. Chisakho Watch will be there with PRVT, keeping the game fair.
Chisakho Watch is a citizen-led, non-partisan election observation coalition formed by the Catholic Commission for Justice and Peace, Public Affairs Committee, Gender Justice Unit, and MHAP, which deployed trained observers across all 28 districts of Malawi. We use the PRVT methodology, which is the process and results verification for transparency, to gather real-time, structured data from sampled polling stations. This ensures credible, objective monitoring of election integrity, the voting environment, and results accuracy. Key findings by Chisakho Watch from 14th to the 27th of July 2025 period of campaign has shown that voter education reached 94% of districts, but outreach to youth slipped from 76% down to 57%. The reports indicate that the northern region saw a 13% increase in education activities, while central and southern regions edged downwards. The overview report also shows that campaigns were dominated by MCP with 76% and DPP with 70%, while independents surged to 75%, with 15% of rallies featuring handouts in forms of cash, food, and gifts. Police presence was also observed to be uneven, with 54% at MCP events and only 24% at independent ones. With this, 8 critical incidents, including no-go zones, sexist language, and misuse of state vehicles in campaigns, were logged by our observers. Chisakho Watch therefore calls on all stakeholders to condemn hate speech, handouts, and intimidation, to revive youth education and enforce campaign finance rules, for the police to provide balanced security and investigate offenses, for for traditional and religious leaders to stay neutral, while citizens have been urged to report irregularities and check facts. Together, we can ensure credible, inclusive, and peaceful elections in Malawi. To learn more, visit the Chisakho Watch website at www.chisakhowatch.org or follow us on Facebook, X, and LinkedIn at Chisakho Watch. Stay informed. Stay engaged.
Of our observance. Watch observed the following. Parliament elections, presidential debate.
Results verification for transparency to gather real-time structured data from sampled polling stations. This ensures credible, objective monitoring of election integrity, the voting environment, and results accuracy. Key findings by Chisakho Watch from 14th to the 27th of July 2025 period of campaign has shown that voter education reached 94% of districts, but outreach to youth slipped from 76% down to 57%. The reports indicate that the northern region saw a 13% increase in education activities, while central and southern regions edged downwards. The overview report also shows that campaigns were dominated by MCP with 76% and DPP with 70%, while independents surged to 75%, with 15% of rallies featuring handouts in forms of cash, food, and gifts. Police presence was also observed to be uneven, with 54% at MCP events and only 24% at independent ones. With this, 8 critical incidents, including no-go zones, sexist language, and misuse of state vehicles in campaigns, were logged by our observers. Chisakho Watch therefore calls on all stakeholders to condemn hate speech, handouts, and intimidation, to revive youth education and enforce campaign finance rules, for the police to provide balanced security and investigate offenses, for traditional and religious leaders to stay neutral, while citizens have been urged to report irregularities and check facts. Together, we can ensure credible, inclusive, and peaceful elections in Malawi. To learn more, visit the Chisakho Watch website at www.chisakhowatch.org or follow us on Facebook, X, and LinkedIn at Chisakho Watch. Stay informed. Stay engaged.
Ikoza kusintha zinthu voti yanga.
Bungwe loyendesa zisankho la Malawi Electoral Commission MEC likudziwitsa anthu onse kuti kuponya voti pa chisankho chachikulu ndi lachiwiri pa 16 Septemba kuyambira 6 koloko mmawa mpaka 4 koloko masana. Onse amene 4 koloko idzawakwanire ali pa mzere sadzabwezedwa ndipo adzavota. Oyenera kukaponya voti ndi omwe analembetsa mukaundula wa voti pokonzekera chisankho cha 2025. Onse amene sanalembetse voti sakawalola kuponya voti. Kumbukirani kutenga chiphaso chanu chovotera popita kukavota. Ngati chinatayika, tengani chiphaso chanu chaunzika. Ngati ziphaso zanu zinasowa, kutayika, kung'ambika, musadandaule. Pitanibe kumalo omwe munalembetsera voti ndipo ogwira ntchito ya chisankho akayang'ana dzina lanu mkaundula wa voti. Dzina lanu likakapezeka, adzakulolani kuti muponye voti. Chonde, dziwani kuti kutsimikizira mayina mukaundula wa voti kukayamba ndi kuyika chala chanu pa makina amene akaonetse nkhope, dzina lanu ndi komwe munalembetsera voti. Mukatero, dzina lanu akalitsimikiziranso mukaundula wa pepala amene akhalepo pamalo oponyera voti aliwonse. Dziwaninso kuti mamonitala akakhala nawonso kalembera kuti azitsimikizira amene akuponya voti. Akatsimikizira dzina mukaundula wa voti, mudzapita pa deski yachiwiri pamene mukayike chala chanu cha mkombaphala mu ink. Chonde, ink imeneyi siyoopsa ku moyo wa munthu. Choncho musavutike ukayichotsa mukapita ku nyumba. Mukatero, mukapatsidwa ballot paper yoyamba ya president, ndipo mukapita pakanyumba komata kuti mukasankhe amene mukufuna ndi kupinda bwino lomwe kuonetsa kuti kumene mwavotera kuli mkati ndi kuponya ballot box. Mukatero, mukapita pa deski yotsatira pamene akakupatseni ballot paper ya phungu wa nyumba ya malamulo, ndipo mukapitanso pakanyumba koma ndi kusankha amene mukufuna kupinda ndi kukaponya ballot box. Kotsiriza, mukatenga ballot paper ya kansala ndi kupitanso pakanyumba komata kusankha amene mukufuna kupinda ndi kukaponya m'bokosi. Povota, onetsetsani kuti mwachonga kapena kudinda m'bokosi limene lili pambali chakumanja pa chizindikiro cha munthu amene mukufuna kumuvotera. Chonde, dziwani kuti pa tsikuli ndikoletsedwa kuvala makaka achipani, kupanga misonkhano yokopa anthu, kapena kupanga zachiwawa pamalo oponyera voti, chifukwa kutero ndi kuphwanya malamulo oyendetsera zisankho. Mukavala makaka achipani kapena opikisana nawo wina aliyense, mudzabwezedwa kuti mukavale bwino ndi kubweranso. Anthu onse aulumali, amayi oyembekezera, achikulire, sakuyenera kukhala pa mzere, koma akazizindikiritse okha kwa oyendetsa chisankho kuti awathandize kuponya voti mwachangu. Dziwani kuti tsiku loponya voti lidzakhala chuti. Choncho mukupemphedwa kuyamba kukaponya voti musanayambe kukagwira ntchito zina zimene mungafune pa tsiku limeneli. Kwa anthu olemba ntchito amene mudzafune kuti anthu agwirebe ntchito pa tsikuli, chonde dzawapatseni mpata anthu anu kuti akaponye voti ndi kuzapitiriza ntchito popeza uwu ndi ufulu wawo. Kumbukirani kuti kuponya voti pa chisankho chachikulu ndi lachiwiri pa 16 Septemba kuyambira 6 koloko mmawa mpaka 4 koloko masana, ndipo aliyense akaponyera voti kumene analembetsera. Kulibeko matransfer. Voti yanu, ufulu wanu, mphamvu yanu.
Luntha Television stands as an autonomous faith-based broadcaster with a national and international reach. Experience the difference with Luntha Television, where innovation meets experience. Our dedicated team backed by cutting-edge technology, ensures seamless execution and unparalleled results. Luntha guarantees credibility and professionalism in all its endeavors and services. We offer, among this, production and broadcasting of jingles, music videos, narratives, documentaries, press services and programs on location or outside, live broadcasting of mass and other church functions, government or indoor functions, and political rallies, creation and broadcasting of special programs, sponsored content, sports and entertainment, and advertising for small, medium, and large enterprises. All services are offered at competitive prices. Tune in daily to catch Luntha Television on Zuko on Channel 51, Starsat Channel 474, Star Times Channel 474, Topstar 474, Kliye 007, GoTV on Channel 807, Azam on Channel 386, and live streams on our YouTube and Facebook platforms. You can find us in Area 2 Lilongwe or can reach us on 0883 815 055. Come, let us help you grow your business.
In football, we all love those tense moments when a goal is scored.
Goal! What a goal!
But then the referee stops the game. VAR check. Was it a real goal or offside? In the same way, during the Malawi's 2025 general elections, we have our own VAR. It's called PRVT, Process and Results Verification for Transparency. Just like VAR, the PRVT reviews the election day process. Our observers are deployed across Malawi from Sanje to Chitipa to carefully check how the voting, counting, and the result transmission is done. Because let's be honest, in football we say chigoli ndi chigoli, but in elections, vote ndi vote, and every vote must count. If the PRVT results match MEC's result, Malawians can celebrate confidently. The results are valid. But if there's a problem, we blow the whistle. Just like VAR protects the game, PRVT protects your vote. On 16 September 2025, play your part, go out and vote. Chisakho Watch will be there with PRVT, keeping the game fair.
Chisakho Watch is a citizen-led non-partisan election observation coalition formed by the Catholic Commission for Justice and Peace, Public Affairs Committee, Gender Justice Unit, and MHAP, which deployed trained observers across all 28 districts of Malawi. We use the PRVT methodology, which is the process and results verification for transparency, to gather real-time, structured data from sampled polling stations. This ensures credible, objective monitoring of election integrity, the voting environment, and results accuracy. Key findings by Chisakho Watch from 14th to the 27th of July 2025 period of campaign has shown that voter education reached 94% of districts, but outreach to youth slipped from 76% down to 57%. The reports indicate that the northern region saw a 13% increase in education activities, while central and southern regions edged downwards. The overview report also shows that campaigns were dominated by MCP with 76% and DPP with 70%, while independents surged to 75%, with 15% of rallies featuring handouts in forms of cash, food, and gifts. Police presence was also observed to be uneven, with 54% at MCP events and only 24% at independent ones. With this, 8 critical incidents, including no-go zones, sexist language, and misuse of state vehicles in campaigns, were logged by our observers. Chisakho Watch therefore calls on all stakeholders to condemn hate speech, handouts, and intimidation, to revive youth, education and enforce campaign finance rules, for the police to provide balanced security and investigate offences, for traditional and religious leaders
registering over 90% coverage of our observance as public meetings. However, reported by 10% of
while citizens have been urged to report irregularities and check facts. Together, we can ensure credible, inclusive, and peaceful elections in Malawi. To learn more, visit the Chisakho Watch website at www.chisakhowatch.org or follow us on Facebook, X, and LinkedIn at Chisakho Watch. Stay informed. Stay engaged.
ikoza kusintha zinthu voti yanga.
bungwe loyendetsa zisankho la Malawi Electoral Commission MEC likudziwitsa anthu onse kuti kuponya voti pa chisankho chachikulu ndi lachiwiri pa 16 Septemba kuyambira 6 koloko mmawa mpaka 4 koloko masana. Onse amene 4 koloko idzawakwanire ali pa mzere sadzabwezedwa ndipo adzavota. Oyenera kukaponya voti ndi omwe analembetsa mukaundula wa voti pokonzekera chisankho cha 2025. Onse amene sanalembetse voti sakawalola kuponya voti. Kumbukirani kutenga chiphaso chanu chovotera popita kukavota. Ngati chinatayika, tengani chiphaso chanu chaunzika. Ngati ziphaso zanu zinasowa, kutayika, kung'ambika, musadandaule. Pitanibe kumalo omwe munalembetsera voti ndipo ogwira ntchito ya chisankho akayang'ana dzina lanu mkaundula wa voti. Dzina lanu likakapezeka adzakulolani kuti muponye voti. Chonde dziwani kuti kutsimikizira mayina mukaundula wa voti kukayamba ndi kuyika chala chanu pa makina amene akaonetse nkhope, dzina lanu ndi komwe munalembetsera voti. Mukatero dzina lanu akalitsimikiziranso mukaundula wa pepala amene akhalepo pamalo oponyera voti aliwonse. Dziwaninso kuti mamonitala akakhala nawonso kalembera kuti azitsimikizira amene akuponya voti. Akatsimikizira dzina mukaundula wa voti, mudzapita pa deski yachiwiri pamene mukayike chala chanu cha mkombaphala mu ink. Chonde ink imeneyi siyoopsa ku moyo wa munthu, choncho musavutike ukayichotsa mukapita ku nyumba. Mukatero mukapatsidwa ballot paper yoyamba ya president ndipo mukapita pakanyumba komata kuti mukasankhe amene mukufuna ndi kupinda bwino lomwe kuonetsa kuti kumene mwavotera kuli mkati ndi kuponya m'ballot box. Mukatero mukapita pa deski yotsatira pamene akakupatseni ballot paper ya phungu wa nyumba ya malamulo ndipo mukapitanso pakanyumba koma ndi kusankha amene mukufuna kupinda ndi kukaponya m'ballot box. Kotsiriza mukatenga ballot paper ya kansala ndi kupitanso pakanyumba komata kusankha amene mukufuna kupinda ndi kukaponya m'bokosi. Povota onetsetsani kuti mwachonga kapena kudinda m'bokosi limene lili pambali chakumanja pa chizindikiro cha munthu amene mukufuna kumuvotera. Chonde dziwani kuti pa tsikuli ndikoletsedwa kuvala makaka achipani, kupanga misonkhano yokopa anthu kapena kupanga zachiwawa pamalo oponyera voti, chifukwa kutero ndi kuphwanya malamulo oyendetsera zisankho. Mukavala makaka achipani kapena opikisana nawo wina aliyense mudzabwezedwa kuti mukavale bwino ndi kubweranso. Anthu onse aulumali, amayi oyembekezera, achikulire sakuyenera kukhala pa mzere, koma akazizindikiritse okha kwa oyendetsa chisankho kuti awathandize kuponya voti mwachangu. Dziwani kuti tsiku loponya voti lidzakhala chuti, choncho mukupemphedwa kuyamba kukaponya voti musanayambe kukagwira ntchito zina zimene mungafune pa tsiku limeneli. Kwa anthu olemba ntchito amene mudzafune kuti anthu agwirebe ntchito pa tsikuli, chonde dzawapatseni mpata anthu anu kuti akaponye voti ndi kuzapitiriza ntchito popeza uwu ndi ufulu wawo. Kumbukirani kuti kuponya voti pa chisankho chachikulu ndi lachiwiri pa 16 Septemba kuyambira 6 koloko mmawa mpaka 4 koloko masana, ndipo aliyense akaponyera voti kumene analembetsera, kulibeko matransfer. Voti yanu, ufulu wanu, mphamvu yanu.
Luntha Television stands as an autonomous faith-based broadcaster with a national
Chezo meneo unachitika mu August komanso September. Ulendo oyamba anabwera atatu okha amene akufuna president. Ulendo omaliza anabwera awiri okha. Kachitatu ripoti yathu ikunena nkhani ya technology kapena zipangizo za makono zimene zikugwiritsidwa ntchito pa chisankho chimenechi. Ife chisankho chikuyamikira Malawi Electoral Commission kuti bwereza ndondomeko zatsopano zothandiza kuti chisankho chathu chiyende bwino mofulumira komanso mobweretsa chikhulupiriro. Komabe tikukhulupirira kuti panena kukhala kuphunzitsidwa kukwanira kwa anthu kuti amvetsetse bwino kagwiritsidwe ntchito kwa makina atsopano amenewa. Nkhani yobweretsa anthu amagulu osiyanasiyana mu chisankho chimenechi. Ife potsatira ndondomeko ku chisankho chimenechi cha chisankhochi tufuna kuyamikira kwambiri kuti magulu osiyanasiyana anayesesa kuti anthu osalidwa m'njira zosiyanasiyana abweretsedwa athandizidwa kuti atenge nawo gawo mu chisankho chimenechi. Mwachitsanzo bungwe la MEC linatsitsa ndi 50% ndalama zimene anthu amapereka kuti ayimire president ku parliament komanso ku uphungu makamaka kwa azimayi achinyamata ndi anthu amaulumali osiyanasiyana. Iyi ndi nkhani yabwino, nkhani yokoma. Komabe taona kuti pali kubwerera mbuyo makamaka ku mbali ya mapresident kuti amayi amodzi okha ndi amene atenga mbali kuti ayimire nawo president. Komanso azimayi ochepa pafupifupi 23% ndi amene afuna azayimirire nawo ngati aphungu ku nyumba ya malamulo. Komanso azimayi ochepa 18% ndi amene afuna azayimirire ngati makhansala. Kuganiza kuti tayenera kukhalira naso pansi kuunikira kuti kodi zimene zikuchitisa zimenezi ndi chani ndi kupeza njira zabwino zothetsera kutsalira kumeneko. Nkhani ina imene ripoti ikunena ndi ya maphunziro akavotedwe. Tithokoze mabungwe osiyanasiyana amene atengapo mbali pophunzitsa anthu. Zikuoneka kuti anthu ambiri anafikiridwa ndipo maobservers athu kapena otsatira athu amene tinasiya mmuzimu aonetsa kuti anthu pafupifupi 90% amafikiridwa maphunziro osiyanasiyana. Iyi maphunziro amene amachokera bungwe la Malawi Electoral Commission komanso bungwe lathu la National Initiative for Civic Education, amarediyo ndi matelevision osiyanasiyana komanso mabungwe osiyanasiyana ndi amipingo. Tithokoze mabungwe amenewa kuti agwira ntchito yopambana kumemeza anthu kuti atsatire ndondomeko zosiyanasiyana za chisankho chimenechi. Nkhani ina imene ripoti yathu ikupereka ndi ya zachitetezo. Tithokoze kuti dziko lathu linapereka mphamvu ku bungwe la Malawi Police Service kuti ndimene inakupereka chitetezo choyenerera kwa anthu onse pa nthawi imeneyi ya chisankho. Koma maobservers athu anaonekera kuti chitetezo chambiri chimapita kwambiri ku chipani cha Malawi Congress Party pamene amapanga makampeni awo kapena kumemeza anthu kusiyana ndi zipani zina zonse. Ripoti yathunso ikupereka ndondomeko imene yabwera posachedwa ya section 44 mu Political Parties Act ya 2018 yoletsa zopereka kapena pa Chingerezi handouts. Maripota zathu kapena maobservers athu anaonekera kuti ngakhale zikuyesedwa zimachitikabe pa nthawi imene ndipo payenera kupezeka ndondomeko zoyenerera kuti ntchito zimenezi kapena zimene zimachitika zopereka mahanda zithe. Atadziwa anthu amene akutenga nawo gawo pa chisankho chimenechi adale ambiri kuti pali chiletso chimenechi anasankha kumapereka zinthu zimenezi ndi usiku. Ripoti yathu ikubweretsanso ndondomeko imene ife achisankho tizagwiritsa ntchito kuwunikira chisankho chimenechi pa 16 September 2025 imene tikuyitchula kuti process and results verification for transparency. Iyi ndi ndondomeko imene chisankho chizagwiritsa ntchito ya chisankho ndipo imaonekera makamaka chisankho cha president. Ife titumiza maobservers osiyana-siyana pafupifupi 934 malo osiyana-siyana. 800 azakhala pa malo amodzi amene anthu azavotera ndipo 134 azakhala oyendayenda amene pa Chingerezi amatchula kuti roving monitors. Anthu amene azagwira ntchito 5 o'clock mamawa mpaka kuwerengera konse pa polling station kutatha. Ripoti yathu statement yathu ikupereka kuti kodi ndondomeko imene imayenda bwanji. Azimene azimambo ndondomeko imeneyi ya PRVT ndi imodzi mwa ndondomeko yowerengera chisankho imene ili yozama kwambiri imene imagwiritsa ntchito makina atsopano kapena kuti communication technologies. Izi zimathandiza kuti chisankho chikawerengedwa ndi bungwe la Malawi Electoral Commission ithandize kuonetsetsa kuti zonse zayendadi mwachilungamo ndipo kuwerengera kwa maballot papers kwachitika mmene akuvotera apangira. Ndondomeko imene siyoyamba kuchitika ku Malawi kuno. Sikoyamba inachitikapo chaka cha 1999, inachitikaponso chaka cha 2009, chaka cha 2014, chaka cha 2019 pamene tinali chisankho chapatatu. Munjira imeneyi anthu athu akhalanso ndi ndondomeko kapena fomu imene azidzalemba zonse zimene aphunzitsidwa ndi kutumiza ku data center yathu kapena kumalo kumene tidzaonetsetse kuti information yonse yatsukidwa bwinobwino isanadzuke ripoti yomaliza. Anthu 800 amene tatumiza marijo onse atatu ndipo mu constituency onse ndipo tayuza ndondomeko yoonetsetsa kuti pakhale representation yoyenerera imene ripoti yathu ikunenera kuti mwachitsanzo ku chigawo chapakati tikawerengesa ma percentage kuli 43.7 polling station ndipo ife tasankha 43.6 centers kuti kapena polling stations kuti anthu athu azatole information imene ife mwatoka mwimapatoka tionetsetsa kuti results imene Malawi Electoral Commission azatulutse akugwirizanadi ndi mmene anthu avonyera mavoti kugwiritsa ntchito imene ya PRVT. Kumaliza chisankhochi ikutsimikizira mtundu wa Malawi kuti idzachitisanso msonkhano umeneyo ngati omwe udachita lerowu press conference nthawi ya 1 o'clock masana pa 16 September kuno kusani Bell Capital Hotel nyumba yomwe ya PRO kuti tidzagawane nanu mmene chisankho chayambira makamaka kutsegulira malo ovotera mmene malo ovotera akhazikisiridwa ndipo mmene anthu akuvotera. Pa 17 September 2025 tidzapangisanso malo amenewo ngati omwewo kuno kumene tidzafotokoza mmene ife tawunikira mmene anthu avotera ndi mmene mavoti awerengeredwera ndiponso results imene azatulukire kutsimikizira. Tinene apa motsindika kuti ife tidzawulutsa results mpaka Malawi Electoral Commission atatulutsa results awo chifukwa iwo amene ali ndi mphamvu yotulutsa final results kapena zotsatira zovomerezeka za chisankho cha upresident. Komalizira chisankhochi ikupempha malo onse kuti chonde tipite tikatuluke pasiku limeneli tikavote chifukwa umene ndi ufulu wathu. Komanso tikupempha malo onse kuti pakhale umodzi ndi mtendere pofuna kubweretsa mtendere pa nthawi imeneyi ya chisankho makamaka potsatira malamulo. Tikupemphanso amene akuyimirira ma position osiyanasiyana azipani komanso otsatira azipani kuti tiye tideke kuti amalawi electoral commission agwire ntchito yawo bwino mpaka zotsatira zituluke. Tikupemphanso amene amapereka chitetezo kuti asatenge mbali koma aonetsetse kuti kunjaku kuli bata ndi mtendere kuti anthu amene afuna akavote mwa ufulu wawo ivo mosaopsezedwa. Kumalizira kwenikweni statement yathu ya chisankhochi ikupempha Malawi Electoral Commission kuti agwire ntchito yawo mwa ukadaulo poyera mwa nthawi yake ndiponso molumikizana ndi onse amene chisankhochi chikuwakhudza pa nthawi iyi yokavota komanso yotulutsa results. Tikupemphera kuti chisankho chathu chikhale chopambana ndipo chokomera wina aliyense mokwaniritsa dziko lathu la Malawi. Zikomo kwambiri.
Zikomo kwambiri bodi ya statement imene mchichewa ndikukhulupirira kuti pakadali pano tonseno tili pa page imodzi kumvetsetsa ntchito yomwe chisankho chakhala akugwira ndiponso yomwe akhala akugwira miyezi yomwe akhala yapitayi. Pakadali pano tilole kutinso tingonena kuti pakati pathu pali presidential candidate Phunziro Mvula amene nawonso abwera kuti adzamvetsetse ntchito yomwe chisankho watch ikuchita amene anenera muja nkhani ndiyoteteza voti. Tsopano nawonso abwera kuti yayi awunikiridwe bwino pa zomwe tikhale tikuchita ndi zomwe takhala tikuchita. Pakadali pano tilole ndino kuti I should open the floor for questions. Tukumbia zatu media amene mwe mafunso awiri aratu ndiye naso amene tili modzi pamalo pano. So this is your time for questions and maybe a comment. The floor is open. All right. You will introduce yourself and then proceed to ask your question.
Thank you very much. Of course, I don't come from the media. I'm Professor Chibwana. I work with the Center for Multi-Party Democracy. On the issue of security, the report indicates that Malawi Police Service, especially during time for campaign, paid much attention to the incumbent ruling party as opposed to other political campaigns that some other political parties were conducting, and indeed independent candidates. I just wanted to understand what's the recommendation of the report regarding that kind of finding, because I know that such kind of reports at the end of the day would want to inform us what is it that we're going to do best moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? I can take one or two more before we get to a response.
Thank you very much. My name is John Paul. I work with Zodiac. Thank you for the presentation. Quite elaborate. You've made some observations on how the presidential debates were conducted. I wanted to find out from you as an organization. We saw that the organizing committee of the debates kind of selected just a few presidential candidates to to participate in the debates. Some people felt that that was segregation or segregating some presidential candidates, and in so doing, it was like saying, okay, these are Oyenerera and the others maybe are not fit enough to participate in the debates. Moving forward as an organization, what would you recommend in times of debates such as those that we've just witnessed, and maybe your comment on that point that some presidential candidates were segregated or were denied the opportunity to also speak to the voters through the debates. On the issue of political violence, do you feel satisfied as an organization and the way the law enforcement handled issues of political violence outside some cases whereby the police were maybe available or were present during the time the violence was unfolding and maybe did nothing? And also observations where people deemed or aligned or affiliated to the governing party allegedly attacking others from maybe the opposition and doing nothing, but then those from the opposition allegedly so doing the same to those maybe aligned with the governing party, and the police taking swift action. I don't know if you made similar observations. What is your take on those issues? Maybe let me sit down for now and we come back with more questions.
My name is Chisakho, Zodiac as well. On PRVT, you say the reports will come from a statistical and nationally representative sample of the polling stations. Maybe if you may provide a little detail of how you intend to work with MEG in coming up with more detailed reports in regards to this.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Edward from Luntha TV. I just want to bring particularity on the question of the presidential debate. The particularity is that the independent candidates were not given that chance to participate. Now, when you're making a conclusion of the lost opportunity, by who? Those who were given the chance and did not want to participate, or you are including these ones who were also not given the chance to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Joseph Masisi from Capital FM. The report has indicated that there are some acts of handouts happening at night. It appears you should have evidence. Have you registered that concern to relevant authorities for action? Thank you.
I'll hand it over to the board to take those questions on. Thank you.
Well, I'll attempt to answer some of those questions, and I will be giving an opportunity to the other board members to answer others. I will probably start with the one from Luntha. Who are we worried about or concerned about when we are talking about presidential candidates that had lost opportunity? basically we're looking at those that were the report. We're talking about those that were invited but did not turn up for the debate. Those are the ones that were saying they lost the opportunity to sell their agenda, their manifesto, articulate properly what they have in store for the Mali. And maybe let me coordinate that with the first question about those that were not invited. That should be an issue that Mr. Malawi and the others that were together in organizing those debates to consider in the next elections ahead of us. I think there are so many issues that we need to consider moving forward. We just had a huge number of presidential candidates this time around. To have all the 17 with the limited resources, limited time, is not an easy thing. Probably a lot of things have to be considered in order to give opportunity to all. I think it is not fair ground when others are not given an opportunity. But I think there are also other issues that we need to consider for every person to be given an opportunity. So Malawi has to sit down, look at how they do their presidential nominations, how they come up with that, and then how we need to start giving good time. If we're to do these debates, we need to have ample time. And we're talking about the electoral calendar that MEC has. If MEC has to have 20 candidates, then you only have 2 months to do all the work that you need to do. You really have a tall order to do everything that you need to do. So it's not a fair game, but sometimes those things do happen. I think that is to answer about the issue about the other presidential candidates that were not given an opportunity to be part of that. That is for organizers to consider, but they have to work hand in hand with Malawi Electoral Commission in order to ensure that all people are given an opportunity to be heard by the Malawian people. The issue of security that we talked about, I think it also goes with the issue of the incumbency. When you look at the MCP, you see that when the president goes, he goes with what is called presidential detail. So it is not just a political party meeting that is taking place. You are also talking about the issue of the head of state and what the head of state is entitled to do. And then when a political party combines what is called in quotes a developmental program, you see that the issue of campaign stroke developmental agenda is combined, and it is a very difficult thing to deal with. So the report does not necessarily talk about a private and total MCP gathering that has no head of state attached to it. You may probably see that some of those meetings that are totally MCP may have limited number of police people. But those MCP gatherings that have got the head of state, you have a lot of security personnel that accompany the president. But that is also something to consider as a nation. That is not what Chisakho wants to say, but as a nation, we're talking about the issue of the incumbency during campaign. What kind of fair playing ground do you have for all presidential candidates so that the police are seen to be covering all? And probably that should be a recommendation as well, that police must ensure that political parties, although they may not be in power, but there must be presence of security at all these particular meetings, so that if there is a security breach or security issue, they must be in a position to address that, which is not the case now, or it has not been the case now until this time that we are actually bringing the company to a close probably today or by 6 o'clock tomorrow. Let me probably stop there and allow the other members to address some of the questions that have been raised. I may come again after the update.
Thank you very much for the questions. In terms of political violence or the reports that we published on the same, just to concur with my chairperson, we made all the information available to the relevant authorities. We published the information. We had live broadcasts. We also, came out with reports that are on our website, and we also published on our social media platforms. So we made recommendations in those reports, and we were hoping that the relevant authority would take up those recommendations to take action on the same. On the PRVT information, as we have said, on 16th, we will release a report in the morning, midday, around 1 p.m. And that will cover the opening of the stations and all activity, the setting up and all that. This report will be shared with the media, everybody who will come and attend that press briefing. And most definitely we will also share that report with MEC. And that will also be the same with the report that will come out on the 17th. Our offices are very open, and we have very open engagement with the Malawi Electoral Commission. I wanted to respond on that one.
Yeah, all those issues have been reported to the relevant authorities. I think she did bring that, including some of the issues to do with violence. In our report that we published, we have made sure that whatever we have come up with is also shared with the relevant authorities as recommendations that they need to do that. Registrar of political parties did receive a lot of queries and issues to do with issues of handouts. They are aware of that. They are working on those issues. It's not an easy thing. It's something that they need to continue to work on even after the election has been done on the 16th of September. So that has been reported indeed. We don't know whether we haven't tackled any other question.
Just to add the PRVT explanation, I think there was one who was asking whether we are going to produce a detailed report from our findings. Remember, PRVT is a sample-based kind of methodology, so we are not looking at the entire process, but we have set ourselves up in a manner that is able to speak to the full while we're just looking at the sample. I think it was also indicated in our report that the sample stations are in proportionate to how the electoral landscape is in the country. I just wanted to make that clarification.
I trust everyone's issue has been addressed. I could take one more if there's anyone that's got a pressing issue.
I've paid attention to how you have answered the questions. To me, it seems that you're not that much relevant by saying that you just took the issue to relevant. What if they don't act? What mechanism have you put in place in case they don't act? I'd like to know that.
For those that don't know, Issue of relevance.
Well, I think we go back to what the mandate of Chisakho Watch is. Its relevance is to ensure that when MAID does produce its official result, we're able to verify that as factual, true picture of the will and the desire of the Malawian people. And before we can get to that big day, when MAID does announce the official result, we have to talk to the process. And Chisakho Watch has been speaking to the process. Has the process been free and fair? Right from the word-go, the registration period, what were the challenges, what needed to be improved, which were the office bearers or office duty bearers that needed to act on those issues. We are not a policy institution that enforces, like the Malawi police, that you needed to do ABCDFG. That's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to identify the gaps that do exist and speak to the relevant authorities of the things that they need to do. We have highlighted that there has been collaboration between ourselves and MAID when they have read our reports and have identified issues that concern that need to be corrected. They have actually spoken to us to provide evidence of the same. And some of us have asked us, when they have read and made some response to us, they have actually asked us questions to respond back to what we think concerning those issues. So the relevance of this particular institution is to ensure that when MAID does make its official result announcement, we can say we think make those figures that we're announcing are more factual. There have been maybe cooked up, or there has been additional. We can actually say MAID is within the range of what is a true picture of what the Malawian people are saying. So the relevance of this institution is to ensure that there is a citizen-led voice that is factual, that can provide transparent, factual data that speaks into what MAID is able to say. So that's what is there. We have spoken to police, we've spoken to party of registrar of parties, we have spoken into issues to do with MAID, we have spoken to political parties when it comes to handouts and other issues, spoken very serious issues to all stakeholders to ensure that the political landscape is correct for a good election to take place. So that's our relevance. Thank you so much.
Mr. Moore, are you satisfied or did you need more clarification?
I feel like maybe we should add an amendment maybe technical action. Yes, those level of authority to not address the issues that you raised. Because I think legal action can be taken by any other entity as an interested party. You can be able to do that.
Well, it is not for Chisakho Watch to do that. However, when we provide our reports that are so clear and that do clearly spot out gaps that do exist, it is now the responsibility of the citizens to use our reports. If they want to take the matters to court. If you read our statement that we've just read out to us this afternoon, we have indicated that if any stakeholder is not happy with the results of the election, they are free to take channels that are legal in order to appeal to those issues that they are aggrieved about. Now, what Chisakho Watch produces, it is something that is in the public domain. It is something that can be used as evidence of whatever they want to bring before the court. So if we say there was injustice, or there was violence, or there was handouts by ABCD candidate, it is for those particular candidates to get a hold of our report, use it with the relevant authority to beef up their case. We cannot be all things. We are an observer, that's what we are. We are Chisakho, we are watching keenly to see what is happening on the ground. So that's what we're doing. It is for the other stakeholders now to take up the matter with the relevant authorities, if need be. What we do, we observe, we write recommendations, and we say to the political parties, ABCDMG. To Malawi police, this is what is happening. Even in this report we have said, we are concerned that Malawi police has been present at certain places where violence has taken place and no action has been done. So we have taken note of that, but we cannot take, as Chisakho Watch, the Malawi police to court. There are other relevant authorities that can do that, that can engage the police in those particular areas. But we have taken that actually out of what is happening on the field. That's what we can say to you, sir.
Thank you very much for the clarification, which we definitely needed to have, especially on that issue. And thank you for that important question as well. Amene akonze vulo lolo ndani mungabereka kwandani ndefuso linalo funika ndithu kwa malawanza athu amene tikuonera ndipo kumvera limodzi ndimene akunenera kuti Chisakho chikubwezesa mphamvuzo m'manja mwa amalawi kunena kuti maripoti ndi awawa amene zinthu zikuyendera ndi uku ndipo maripoti amene akuzogwiritsidwa ntchito ono munthu kuti asankha kunena kuti apa tisume ndipo tiyende motere motere maripoti amene anthu omwe tikozogwirisira ntchito ukabereka ngati evidence nde nkhani ndiyonena kuti maripoti ndi awo komano mphamvuyo ikubwereranso m'manja mwa amalawi chifonena kuti maobserver ntchito yawo ndikuchita observe koma siyoti akosere pamenepo nde mphamvu ikubwerera kwa amalawi pa nkhani imeneyi nde tithokoze zathu a Chisakho Watch komanso tithokoze wina aliyense amene wafika masana ano kufunsa mafunso komanso kumvera zathu a media amene mutenge nkhani zimene zikupititsa ku dziko lino kuti amvesese kuti Chisakho Watch ikayikugwira ntchito za mtundu wanji. Aside from that, bakhalanso toll-free line yomwe ili 428 imene namba yomwe wina aliyense atha kuyimba kuti apeze information ya zomwe zikuchitika nthawi ya voting imeneyi. But also they have also created a gender and inclusion desk at all of the polling stations. So ngati papeziko noti pali mavuto ena ake amene akuyendamo anthu osiyana-siyana makamaka azimayi ndi anzathu ena pamene also mafunso ndi kupanganso report. There is a desk that is dedicated specially for gender and inclusion. So please feel free to make sure that we mention that, especially to our friends in media, so that everyone knows that that is something that is available as people are voting. At the end of the day, Chisakho Watch is a citizen-led election observation group, and the work is to observe, to report, and to empower. So thank you once again for this, and we will be back, as mentioned earlier, on Tuesday at 1 p.m. in this very room to have an idea now and a report on how things have been going, and also looking at the issues of process, the results, verification for transparency. At the end of the day, the citizen trust grows because of accountability. So people need to know what's happening. When there's transparency, people's trust also gets to grow. So this is what's made to do. We're growing accountability, and also we're bringing action. So once again, thank you. We'll be back on Tuesday, 1 p.m. I'm sure by then the majority of us would have already gone up to vote, and then coming here to continue serving the nation in terms of getting the message out. So once again, thank you to the board, thank you to Chisakho Watch, and thank you to each and every one of you. My name is Luntha. Quick announcement, we'll have our tour of the data center. I'm going to ask that the media team heads out with, what are they going out with? Please just raise your hand. Oh, okay, yes. So, tialondola kuti mugaone ku data center kuti kuoneka kwanji mmene kuchitwa kwekukiridwa kumene mafunso onse akatauya ankani ndeno tituluke limodzi for that tour. And yes, and we've got tea at the back and coffee. So let's go on and do that. Thank you. CSOs, if you're also here, please feel free to head out with the meeting.
In football, we all love those tense moments when a goal is scored.
Goal! What a goal!
But then the referee stops the game. VAR check. Was it a real goal or offside? In the same way, during the Malawi's 2025 general elections, we have our own VAR. It's called PRVT, Process and Results Verification for Transparency. Just like VAR, the PRVT reviews the election day process. Our observers are deployed across Malawi from Sanje to Chitipa to carefully check how the voting, counting, and the result transmission is done. Because let's be honest, in football we say chigoli in the chigoli, but in elections, vote in the vote, and every vote must count. If the PRVT results match MEC's result, Malawians can celebrate confidently. The results are valid. But if there's a problem, we blow the whistle. Just like VAR protects the game, PRVT protects your vote. On 16 September 2025, play your part, go out and vote. Chisakho Watch will be there with PRVT, keeping the game fair.
Chisakho Watch is a citizen-led, non-partisan election observation coalition formed by the Catholic Commission for Justice and Peace, Public Affairs Committee, Gender Justice Unit, and MHAP, which deployed trained observers across all 28 districts of Malawi. We use the PRVT methodology, which is the process and results verification for transparency, to gather real-time, structured data from sampled polling stations. This ensures credible, objective monitoring of election integrity, the voting environment, and results accuracy. Key findings by Chisakho Watch from 14th to the 27th of July 2025 period of campaign has shown that voter education reached 94% of districts, but outreach to youth slipped from 76% down to 57%. The reports indicate that the northern region saw a 13% increase in education activities, while central and southern regions edged downwards. The overview report also shows that campaigns were dominated by MCP with 76% and DPP with 70%, while independents surged to 75% with 15% of rallies featuring handouts in forms of cash, food, and gifts. Police presence was also observed to be uneven, with 54% at MCP events and only 24% at independent ones. With this, 8 critical incidents, including no-go zones, sexist language, and misuse of state vehicles in campaigns, were logged by our observers. Chisakho Watch therefore calls on all stakeholders to condemn hate speech, handouts, and intimidation, to revive youth education and enforce campaign finance rules, for the police to provide balanced security and investigate offenses, for traditional and religious leaders to stay neutral, while citizens have been urged to report irregularities and check facts. Together, we can ensure credible, inclusive, and peaceful elections in Malawi. To learn more, visit the Chisakho Watch website at www.chisakhowatch.org or follow us on Facebook, X, and LinkedIn at Chisakho Watch. Stay informed. Stay engaged.
ikoza kusintha zinthu voti yanga.
bungwe loyendesa zisankho la Malawi Electoral Commission MEC likudziwisa anthu onse kuti kuponya voti pa chisankho chachikulu ndi lachiwiri pa 16 Septemba kuyambira 6 koloko mmawa mpaka 4 koloko masana. Onse amene 4 koloko idzawakwanire ali pa nzere sadzabwezedwa ndipo adzavota. Oyenera kukaponya voti ndi omwe analembetsa mukaundula wa voti pokonzekera chisankho cha 2025. Onse amene sanalembetse voti sakawalola kuponya voti. Kumbukirani kutenga chiphaso chanu chovotera popita kukavota. Ngati chinatayika, tengani chiphaso chanu chaunzika. Ngati ziphaso zanu zinasowa, kutayika, kung'ambika, musadandaule. Pitanibe kumalo omwe munalembetsera voti ndipo ogwira ntchito ya chisankho akayang'ana dzina lanu mkaundula wa voti. Dzina lanu likakapezeka adzakulolani kuti muponye voti. Chonde dziwani kuti kutsimikizira mayina mukaundula wa voti kukayamba ndi kuyika chala chanu pa makina amene akaonetse nkhope, dzina lanu ndi komwe munalembetsera voti. Mukatero dzina lanu akalitsimikiziranso mukaundula wa pepala amene akhalepo pamalo oponyera voti aliwonse. Dziwaninso kuti mamonitala akakhala nawonso kalembera kuti azitsimikizira amene akuponya voti. Akatsimikizira dzina mukaundula wa voti, mudzapita pa deski yachiwiri pamene mukayike chala chanu cha mkombaphala mu ink. Chonde ink imeneyi siyoopsa ku moyo wa munthu, choncho musavutike ukayichotsa mukapita ku nyumba. Mukatero mukapatsidwa ballot paper yoyamba ya president ndipo mukapita pakanyumba komata kuti mukasankhe amene mukufuna ndi kupinda bwino lomwe kuonetsa kuti kumene mwavotera kuli mkati ndi kuponya ballot box. Mukatero mukapita pa deski yotsatira pamene akakupatseni ballot paper ya phungu wa nyumba ya malamulo ndipo mukapitanso pakanyumba
the day, but we're also verifying the results as it has been announced by the MEC. So as you can see, the people that are sitting on the tables, these are our data techs. These are the ones that are going to be helping us as we receive the data from the observers. Today, as you can see, the space is busy. It's because we're having a simulation exercise. The reason why we're having this simulation exercise for us is because we want to trace the data. Number one, the observers that are going to be reporting on election day are currently on the polling centers that are expected to observe. So this day we're trying to observe and monitor to see if the network is going to be okay for them to be able to send the messages accordingly. As you can see from the checklist, they'll be sending in the text message in a coded format. So that is why it is very important for us to observe and monitor if the network is going to be okay, depending on the different centers that they'll be reporting from. But apart from that, we would also want to monitor the observers underwent through trainings, but would want to see that the trainings that they went through, are they able to capture the information accordingly? That is why today, during the simulation exercise, as you can see from here, they have been given a scenario where they're supposed to respond to questions based on the scenario. This is going to help us and guide us to know if the observers that we have deployed are knowledgeable enough to understand the checklist that they're supposed to observe with on election day. But most importantly, we would also want to test our database. As you can see from the screen, the information that's coming in is going to come to this database. Today we're trying to test if the system is going to be able to capture all the data accordingly. But also, we want to train the data clicks. We have 40 data clicks in total, and these data clicks are going to be coming in shifts. But we want to test and see if they'll be able to manage all the data that is coming in from the 800 observers. So this is how the system works. We have 800 observers that are sending in reports from the 800 polling stations. From this system, what we want to know is out of the 800, how many have managed to send in the information. So as you can see, according to our sample, we have 349 coming from the central region, and we have 314 coming from the northern region, and 337 coming from the southern region, of which it has been divided into southern and eastern region. So when the data is coming in from all the regions, we'll be able to determine and see that out of all the 800 observers, how many have sent in complete data. That is why you're able to see that we have missing, partial, or complete. So out of the 800, for example, for today, as we're having the simulation exercise, we're expecting to receive data from all the 1800. And you can see from what we have that we're only missing one from northern region, and we're not missing any information from one from the central region, and we're not missing any information from the northern region, and we have 4 from the southern region. And as you can also see, there are other observers that have sent in partial information. So when we say partial, what do we mean? As you saw on the checklist, the text messages that they're sending, there are several questions that they're supposed to respond to. If they have only responded to a few, for example, 5 out of the 6, the system is supposed to detect and say that the observer has sent partial information, and that is why we have the data clicks. The responsibility of the data clicks is to follow up with the observers. So number one, they're checking with the observers that have completely not sent any data. Those are the most important to us. So we're checking with all the missing observers that are yet to send the data, but even for those that have sent in the partial information, we want to follow up with them to make sure that they send complete text messages. And the most critical thing, as you have seen today, as we receive the data, we want to share the information to the public. So one of the critical roles for the data clicks is to make sure that they are verifying that information so that it is accurate for us to go to the public and say this is how the polling stations are doing today on election day. So that is the system as it has been explained. The system will also be able to detect if we have any invalid data that is coming in from the observers, and it will also be able to detect if we're getting any other information that is not from the observers that we have trained. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'll let you ask. Otherwise, if you don't have questions, you can go ahead and appreciate them.
Equal number of people receiving data from regions.
The different regions. So, as you can see on the tables, we have a table that is receiving information specifically from the southern region. And then we also have a different table that is receiving information from the central region. And if you can see at the back there, they are also receiving information from the central region and then northern and eastern. So the question would be, why do we have 2 tables or many data clicks that are managing information from the central region? As you have seen from the sample, you will notice that most of the observers are coming in from the central region. So we want to make sure that there's equal distribution of the weight of the data.
I said just a minute.
ikhoza kusintha zinthu voti yanga.
bungwe loyendesa zisankho la Malawi Electoral Commission MEC likudziwisa anthu onse kuti kuponya voti pa chisankho chachikulu ndi lachiwiri pa 16 Septemba kuyambira 6 koloko mmawa mpaka 4 koloko masana. Onse amene 4 koloko idzawakwanire ali pa nzere sadzabwezedwa ndipo adzavota. Oyenera kukaponya voti ndi omwe analembetsa mukaundula wa voti pokonzekera chisankho cha 2025. Onse amene sanalembetse voti sakawalola kuponya voti. Kumbukirani kutenga chiphaso chanu chovotera popita kukavota. Ngati chinatayika, tengani chiphaso chanu chaunzika. Ngati ziphaso zanu zinasowa, kutayika, kung'ambika, musadandaule. Pitanibe kumalo omwe munalembetsera voti ndipo ogwira ntchito ya chisankho akayang'ana dzina lanu mkaundula wa voti. Dzina lanu likakapezeka adzakulolani kuti muponye voti. Chonde dziwani kuti kutsimikizira mayina mukaundula wa voti kukayamba ndi kuyika chala chanu pa makina amene akaonetse nkhope, dzina lanu ndi komwe munalembetsera voti. Mukatero dzina lanu akalitsimikiziranso mukaundula wa pepala amene akhalepo